Time now for your roster trends here as we take a look at some of the most added players on CBSSports.com leagues heading into a very busy Thanksgiving week. For week number 12, you got a situation in Baltimore with no Mark Andrews. You got a Seattle running back situation where there's potentially no Ken Walker. And Odell Beckham stepping up. So we have some guys that have Isaiah Likely in Baltimore with the Andrews injury. Zach Charbonnet in Seattle with the Walker injury. And then Beckham just playing well, but also benefits with the Mark Andrews injury as well. And we'll break down some of these most added players and help you set those lineups for week 12. We'll start with the tight ends as you take a look at the two of us. I'm Jamie Eisenberg. That's Heath Cummings. So Heath, let's start with the tight ends, and we'll start with Isaiah Likely because the big opportunity for him without Mark Andrews for what is likely the remainder of the regular season dealing with that ankle injury. So we saw Likely last year in 2 games without Andrews, average over 13 PPR points per game. But this year, a little bit different story. Played the first game of the season without Andrews. 1 catch for 4 yards on 1 target. We know he didn't exactly step up in the game when Andrews was injured in week 11. But opportunity is knocking, and we hope to see a little bit more production from Likely down the stretch. So hopefully that will be the case starting in a great matchup against the Chargers. So make sure he is not on your waiver wire. Pick him up and hopefully get some great production from him moving forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely making him a priority because of the upside and because of last year. I am a little bit concerned about what we've seen this year. I do think if you're looking for a higher floor option, it's probably K-Dot. And a nice 8.9 PPR fantasy points against the 49ers has a much better matchup this week against the Colts. I expect Tampa Bay will be chasing the score. There'll be plenty of pass volume in that game. Don't hate Otton's chances of getting into the end zone. He's a high-end number 2 tight end this week.
Could be a good opportunity for him. We also got an opportunity in the running back situation as we transition to that position for Zach Charbonnet. We've been saying for weeks on the waiver wire shows and in the waiver wire column, pick up Zach Charbonnet, stash Charbonnet just in case something happens to Ken Walker. And here we are. We don't know how long Walker's going to be out, but probably not going to play on the Thanksgiving Day night game against the 49ers. Now, it's a brutal matchup against San Francisco, and the upcoming schedule is awful. But you want to have Charbonnet on your team just in case Walker's injury, the oblique injury, does linger. He should be, at least the hope, it should be involved in the passing game. 11 targets the last 2 weeks, 10 catches over that span. Did have 6 catches against the Rams after Walker went down, and that's kind of been his role. But will he keep that role? Will it be Kenny McIntosh or maybe DJ Dallas taking him off the field in those snaps, which is why I'm a little bit concerned about his matchup against the 49ers. But he should be added, should be rostered, and hopefully we'll start to get some production down the stretch, depending on how long Walker is out.
I did not expect that in week 12 of this season, I'd be saying we could add Ezekiel Elliott. But actually, in terms of guys who were actually available in more than 35% of leagues, he was my favorite waiver wire add at running back this week. Coming off an 88-yard game before the bye, that bye week does mean that he should have fresh legs. And they're facing an absolutely terrible Giants offense. There's only been one time this season when the Patriots have held another opposing team below 20 points. That was all the way back in week 3 when they played the Jets, and the Jets only scored 10. And that game, 16 carries, 80 yards for Ezekiel Elliott. I think both Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott have a chance to see 15 touches and post at least 80 yards in this game.
Yeah, who would have thought, like you said, talking about Ezekiel Elliott in week 12 of the 2023 season. And I thought we'd be talking about Christian Watson as the best Packers wide receivers. Look at the wide receivers that we're looking at here. But it's been Jaden Reed lately stepping up as the best Packers guy. Now, you've seen some production from Romeo Doubs as well, 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games. But I like what the Packers are doing with Reed, getting him the ball as different ways to make sure that he's productive. We saw it last week with a rushing touchdown against the Chargers. And so manufacturing touches for any player is always positive. And with the way this receiving core is operated, I think you'll see Reed continue to be the preferred option. Working out of the slot, it's a very good matchup against the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. Probably going to see a situation where the Packers are chasing points. And remember, Aaron Jones not expected to play dealing with knee injury, so maybe some more carries for Reed. But certainly the opportunity to put the ball in his hands is there. And so somebody that's serviceable as a number 3 wide receiver. Good luck trying to figure out the Packers receivers week in, week out. But it's starting to show some clarity, at least for Reed, moving forward.
Another rookie wide receiver I've been excited about for about a month. Demario Douglas actually saw his roster rate go down over the last week and a half because he was on a bye. That makes sense. He should be picked right back up, though, and I like him as a number 3 wide receiver. He has seen 25 targets over his last 3 games with the Patriots. He's slid right into that Jacoby Myers slot-type role, all the way down to the fact that he hasn't scored a touchdown this season, just like Jacoby Myers used to never score touchdowns. I like Douglas as a number 3, and I think if he gets into the end zone on a semi-consistent basis the rest of the way, he could actually be a top 30 wide receiver.
Yeah, I wish he had some clarity on who the Patriots quarterback's going to be. So Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, whoever it is, the job should just be get Demario Douglas the ball because he has been fun over the last few games. Let's go now to the quarterbacks and two guys that I don't think a lot of fantasy managers were expecting to count on, but we know Joe Burrow out for the season, Deshaun Watson out for the season, and hopefully Gardner Minshew could step up for another quarterback who's been out for the season, and Anthony Richardson. It's been a bad 3-game stretch for Minshew, but I think part of that ties into the last 2 games at least, where Josh Downs has been banged up. So coming off a bye, hopefully Downs is healthy, but it's a beautiful matchup against Tampa Bay. 3 of the last 4 quarterbacks against the Bucs have been over 32 fantasy points, and I think Minshew will hopefully take advantage of the situation. Tough to run on Tampa Bay, so you're not benching Jonathan Taylor, but he might not have his best game, but hopefully Taylor's involved in the passing game. But this could be one of Minshew's better opportunities, and certainly a great schedule coming up. Only one real tough matchup rest of way, so Minshew might be a great Burrow replacement. Great opportunity to start him in 2 quarterback and super flex leagues, but could be a streamer in 1 quarterback leagues as well.
Yeah, Minshew was actually available in a lot of leagues. Gardner Minshew only available about 20 to 25% of leagues this week, but I think that's too many. He probably got dropped over the last week and a half as well. If you look at what he did, though, 2+ touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. He was around 250 passing yards in most of those games. He profiles as someone I'd rather have on my roster than Minshew or probably any other streamers you're going to find. So if you do find Baker Mayfield on your waiver wire because somebody didn't want to start him against San Francisco, he's someone you should add and view as a borderline top 12 quarterback for the rest of the season.
And remember, in terms of Minshew and Mayfield, we don't have any bye weeks in week 12, but we have 4 prominent quarterbacks on a bye in week 13, and so you could be looking at some replacement options there. Guys like Josh Allen still have their bye coming up, Justin Fields, Joshua Dobbs, and so these 2 guys could be very helpful for fantasy managers down the stretch. You want more information like this? Make sure you check out our Fantasy Football Today podcast, wherever podcasts are found. We help you with your waiver wire ads, the roster trends, the starts, the sits. We have you covered at the busy time of the fantasy season as the playoffs are approaching. You want to make sure you're ready to win, and we have you covered. Again, the Fantasy Football Today podcast.